Good morning. I just wanted to do a weird intro. So, guys, I have been a little bit MIA, for which I apologize, and yet I don't. Sorry, not sorry, as the kids would say. But I thought that a vlog update was overdue. So this is it. Yeah, just so much going on. I mean, I don't need to tell you everything that's going on with the world. It's the end of 2020, thank goodness. I've been really overwhelmed. And I think part of that is the state of the world. I don't know, how are you guys hanging in there? Because I'm barely. I think part of it is the state of the world and part of it is self-inflicted, honestly. I really bit off almost more than I could chew this fall. And I think I might have mentioned this in my most recent vlog, but my goodness, I'm proud of everything I've done. So that's why I say almost, like I'm just barely kind of making it work. But the first go of FODMAP Freedom in the fall was exhausting and yet amazing. It was so much fun and the results have been so phenomenal. I'm really excited to share this with you guys and open it back up in January for enrollment. It was freaking exhausting. It was my first time really teaching formally. Well, actually, that's a lie. I did do kind of some teaching, and that's another story. But it was a lot. And then launching the podcast with Amy has been also amazing. Like, I love my patients, I love my work, but getting to just shoot the breeze with Amy for an hour or more every week to record podcast episodes is literally the highlight of my week now, every single week. So I'm really glad that I've done that, but also more stuff to do. You know, I had to learn how to launch a podcast. I watched so many YouTube videos, ironically, about how to launch a podcast, and like where to post it, where to host it, like how to do the video component of it. It was a lot. But anyway, so I kind of, in honesty, hit a wall in the last week or two. I was feeling a lot of overt anxiety, which is not typically my nature. I've always joked that if anything, I'm going to swing more in the direction of depression and feeling apathetic when I get really overwhelmed. I tend to not get overt manifestations of anxiety or panic, but I was this last week or two. I was feeling a lot of that. And I think it just reminds me of something that I thought would be useful and post-worthy, if you will. So I'll share this with you. I think that the human body is amazing and it has a way of just hanging in there just long enough. Like, I think that your body can somehow sense your demands and keep you alive. And then it knows like the perfect moment when it's okay to fall apart. And I'll tell a story first, and then I'll give you the example that happened to me in the last couple weeks. When I was studying for the first part of my national board exam, 10 years ago, all of my friends were really stressed. Everybody was staying up late at night, cramming, and I was not outwardly showing stress. I was like, no, we've got this. I'm like, we're good. I was a good student. I had good grades, so I wasn't really worried about it. And I made it through that test. Like, literally, it was a 6-part exam, and I made it to the end of the 5th part, and I started getting like weird symptoms. Like, my eye was really itchy all of a sudden. And I asked the proctor to let me go early, which was very like against the rules in retrospect. But I asked the proctor to let me go early because I was like, yo, man, like, if I leave right now, I could drive home, take my contact lenses out, put on glasses, and drive back, and I'll make it back in time for the last exam. Can I please go? And they let me go. And I was like, well, that's super cool of them. Turns out I had the beginning of like the worst case of pink eye ever. And I got in my car thinking, oh, that proctor was so nice. They didn't have to let me go. And then I look in the mirror and I was like, oh, God, I'm diseased. And sure enough, I got home. I took out my contact lenses. Luckily, they were just daily disposable, so, whatever. Put on glasses, went back, and sat for my last exam. Ironically, side note, I started developing the pink eye during the microbiology portion of the exam, which I just thought was really funny. So I just barely made it. And by the end of the last exam, by the end of the day, I had full-blown double pink eye, like grotesque double pink eye. And I remember just thinking that was so crazy, but then I realized, no, it's perfect. It was really ingenious. My body was probably running on cortisol and adrenaline more than I consciously realized. And I got to that point where, it's kind of like the equivalent of falling over the finish line. Like technically I made it over the finish line, but it was kind of sloppy at the end. But it was like my body knew just the right moment where it could collapse and fall apart. And that really taught me a big lesson, especially like as the years progressed and I thought back to that, I was like, wow, that was really amazing. And I'm grateful that my body hung in as long as it did, and it didn't collapse the day before my exam, for example, or in the middle of the exam. It literally waited until the last of 6 exams, basically. So it was pretty wild. But I feel like I lived that again in 2020. And again, it's so hard to assess how much is the state of the world versus my own stuff. But with just everything like 2020, family stuff, just like having my normal day-to-day clinical practice, YouTube uploading, FODMAP freedom, the podcast, the herbal class, it was a lot. And literally we wrapped up FODMAP freedom right at Thanksgiving, like the week prior. And it was basically that week that I really started to crumble. And in the moment, when you're in that moment and you have like the metaphorical pink eye, it sucks, right? Like at that time, it was like, oh, this kind of stinks. Like I want to go out and celebrate with my friends because we were done with boards. But I think it was my body doing something very intentionally. So this last couple weeks, the last 2 or so weeks, it's been stinky, especially being a one-woman show, basically, with my practice and needing to keep up with the demands of my clinical practice and answer patients' questions and still like take care of other humans. It was a lot. I'm feeling quite a bit better. I think a lot for me has been just, it's been a couple of fold, but I'm trying to focus more on sleep and just like earlier bedtime and being stricter with my bedtime. I think some of it, I just had to ride it out and like give my body that space to process. Frankly, I cried a good handful of times. Sometimes there's just nothing like a therapeutic cry. I talked to a lot of friends, and lavender essential oil gel caps were really, really helpful for me. CBD, not so much to my surprise. I didn't see CBD help all that much with sleep, maybe a touch with the anxiety, but not profoundly. But the lavender essential oil gel caps were really helpful. But I think I just really needed to give my body some processing time. And I'm feeling quite a bit better. But it's funny, because again, like to the logical brain, the conscious brain, which is only like a fragment of yourself, it seems counterintuitive, right? Like having this bubbling up of stress after I'm done with a stressful thing, or I'm done with a demand. Like I was thinking, this is silly. This is so silly. Like you have fewer reasons to be stressed right now because like FODMAP freedom is off your plate for the time being. Like I was going live in the group twice a week. I was doing a lecture once a week and a Q&A and moderating comments and questions. It's like, that's off my plate now. Why am I stressed now? But like I said, I think the body has a way of knowing when it can collapse and fold and just kind of not so gracefully fall over the finish line. So I'm really glad that I'm glad I got through that. I think I'm through it largely, and I'm making some big changes, just like in my life and in my clinical practice, which I'm excited for. And just, I think 2020, I can tell you guys this now. 2020, my resolution actually was to post on YouTube every week. So high five for me. I did it, right? Like, or what? How does Liz Lemon do it? Like, I forget. So I'm really glad that I kept that resolution. But I think 2021 is going to be more about holding space for myself and my needs and my quirks and traumas and flaws and, just a lot of like self-help type work and like energetic work. I think that's going to be my theme, like self-development, self-betterment for 2021. And I hope that is reflected in the quality of my work here for you guys. I still intend to keep the weekly uploads going. Even heck, halfway through the year, I started posting twice a week, which was pretty wow for me. But I am taking a hiatus from my big explainer videos right now, but I intend to start back up first thing in January. So I am going to continue the mucus series, for example. I've got others coming out. I'm going to do some videos on Paneth cells, which I'm very excited about. I'm going to start doing deep dives into individual microbes. The first two on my list, on my bucket list, are going to be Akkermansia muciniphila and Faecalibacterium prausnitzii. So stay tuned for those. And yeah, just like a whole lot more good stuff. So I'm really excited to share that all with you in 2021. Thank you so much for being a part of my life. I really, honestly, like you guys are like a weird, like pseudo family to me in a weird way. Like I see the comments and I try to, keep up with comments on YouTube to the best of my ability. And I see familiar faces and familiar names. And it's really fun to see you guys and see when you're jazzed about something I produced, or you found it helpful, or it helped with your symptoms. So thank you for being a part of my life. Thank you for being my little internet family. And yeah, more things and better things to come in 2021. That is my promise for you. But in the meantime, for the rest of 2020, I'm going to take a hot minute and recover and just give myself some space and let my adrenals de-crisp, because boy howdy, we all have a reason to have crispy adrenals this year, huh?